What do you do if you absolutely hate your progesterone therapy? I know, which is like blasphemy because everybody talks about how, oh my gosh, progesterone's so wonderful and it's calming, it's soothing, it's relaxing, it reduces PMS. It's women need it. We forget to talk about it. All the press goes to estrogen, but yet what if you're on progesterone and you absolutely hate it? You're getting all sorts of side effects. You're feeling like none of the soothing, none of the relaxing, none of the everything's going to be okay. You're wondering if you have a progesterone allergy or hypersensitivity. That's what I'm going to dive in today. We're going to talk about all the side effects that I tend to hear with progesterone. I'm going to explain the why in a couple of them. I'm going to ask you a couple questions that maybe you can talk to your healthcare practitioner about, like, can we shift this? Can we adjust this? And then I'm going to go through like 10 options, yes, 10, to help you maybe navigate progesterone. Now, not all the options are my favorite. However, if you don't feel well, it's important you understand all your options. Let's get into it. What are the side effects? I commonly hear top all the time. The reason I hate my progesterone is because it makes me feel bloated. I feel like I've gained a bunch of weight. I feel like my breasts have enlarged, gotten bigger, and I'm not about that. I'm having all sorts of water retention. I'm having acne. I'm having headaches since starting progesterone. I'm getting all the GI stuff. I'm having bloating. I'm having constipation, or the opposite. I'm getting diarrhea when I take it. I'm getting heartburn or reflux. Now, this doesn't happen to everyone. A lot of women, which is why you see it all over social media and read it in the books and online, love their progesterone. A lot of women love their progesterone. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk to the women who hated their progesterone or were like a solid 6 out of 10 on their progesterone. Like, it's true. They're sleeping better. They're having less anxiety, but like, ew, the water retention or the acne or the GI GERD effects, like, not loving that life. Let me talk about at least 2 of these. So when you take progesterone, or actually just when you make it in your body. So when you ovulate, when you release the egg, what is formed afterwards is progesterone. You only make progesterone in the second half of your cycle. If you don't ovulate anymore, or you do but you don't make great levels of progesterone, that's commonly why we go on progesterone in midlife to like help support it. Because true, it does help the uterus. It does help have nice, easy periods. It does help with calming, relaxing, soothing. We have progesterone receptors all over our body, from like our brain all the way down to our toes. We have it everywhere. It doesn't just, we shouldn't just focus it in the uterus, but it does play a big role there. Now, one of the things it can do for a lot of women is cause water release. So they don't get the water retention. It's like the opposite. Like, they make progesterone and they're like, oh, thank goodness, I was feeling bloated. Or they notice when their progesterone drops down, if they're getting close to PMS time, a lot of water retention because of the change in progesterone. So they're like, oh my goodness, thankfully when I get my progesterone back, or when I started taking it, I noticed I released a lot of water. So progesterone can help for that for some women. In theory, it should help for all. But as we know, that doesn't always work. For others, there is what I like to call like an overcompensation. It binds to certain receptors called mineralocorticoid receptors, and they manage your saltwater balance. Well, there's a hormone that can counter it, such as aldosterone, that causes water to stay in the body, like you like balloon up with water. So progesterone binds to the receptors, causes water release. And so the body, for some people, what I've seen is that will maybe overproduce too much aldosterone. And then now we get water retention again. So instead of getting the release, or maybe you get the release for like a day or two, we get this counter effect and there's a whole lot of water retention. Now, when you have water retention in the body, what do you feel? Puffy, inflamed, and even things like your pores can swell up. So you can get acne. It can make you feel like you've gained weight, but it's just water weight. It can make it feel like your joints are kind of like stiffer instead of flexible because there's like just so much water around there. You can see why when people say, I feel bloated, I feel puffy, I feel like my boobs are bigger, like what the heck? It could be from this unfortunate like water rebound that happens. Now, you may be thinking, I thought estrogen can do that too. It can. It can. That's why it's this like interesting balance between estrogen and progesterone. But some women are just on progesterone. Like, progesterone is the first hormone they start in their whole, therapy. and like hate it immediately, or hate, they're like, this isn't working no matter what, and I'm just on progesterone. Like, explain it. So that's why I want to explain like progesterone can for some people. Now, what about the GI stuff? Well, progesterone's relaxing, it's calming, it's soothing, which means it's going to relax smooth muscles. This can cause the lower esophageal sphincter, so the little, like the squeezy part at the bottom of your esophagus, where your esophagus meets your stomach, can relax. And then you can get GERD, you can get heartburn. So all of a sudden you're taking progesterone and you're like, ugh, now I have heartburn. And I haven't had it since I was pregnant, or I've never had heartburn before. Like, what the heck? You can kind of understand if you had heartburn in pregnancy, why progesterone goes up exponentially in pregnancy and can release that sphincter, coupled with growing a baby that's like pushing up on your stomach, and you just get this 1-2 effect causing heartburn. Well, in perimenopause, with the decline in progesterone, you go on progesterone, we get the relaxing effect again, and now she has heartburn, GERD, reflux. This can also impact the small and large intestines because they are muscles as well. So some women get a lot of constipation, and other women get the opposite. They feel like they have looser stools. This, no matter what, can cause bloating. They can get GI type symptoms that can occur. Now, on average, when I talk to patients, when I read the comments, when I scour the Reddit boards, I'm not going to lie, like I go to where you are. What is going on? On average, people say I get these side effects for about 8 weeks, so 2 to 3 months, let's say 2 to 3 months. And after about that time, my body seems to have like leveled out and I'm okay. But not everybody wants to wait that long, and not everybody gets that experience. Some women hit the 3-month mark and they're like, nope, this still sucks. And I don't like this at all. So here are the questions I want to ask as it relates to progesterone. First of all, what are you taking? What is the dose? What is the route? Is it a pill? Is it vaginal? Like, is it synthetic? Is it bioidentical? Is it progesterone or a progestin? Do you have an IUD? Like, what kind of progestogen are we talking about? What is the starting dose? So I would say now a lot, we hear the most common is progesterone, and the pharmaceutical brand is called Prometrium. It's oral micronized progesterone, Prometrium. Prometrium comes in 100 or 200 milligram capsules, and a lot of women are immediately started with 200 because they like, I hate life, I'm having all these symptoms, fix it. And God bless their prescribing practitioners, like, absolutely, here's 200 milligrams. And that might be too much. So we're going to talk about that in a second. So like, what is your dose? Where are you at? Then the other question, how long in your journey? Are you only in day 1? Are you in week 1? Are you in month 1? Like I said, based on the anecdotal out there information, 8 to 12 weeks, right? 2 to 3 months for things to settle out. I'm not saying that's fair or fun or what you want to necessarily work with, but if you're listening to this and you're only in like week 2 and you're like, holy crap, okay, I could hang on to 8 weeks and see if I balance out a little better. Then whatever you're doing with your progesterone, if it's a type of progesterone like a pill, are you cycling it? Meaning, are you on it for, let's say, 14 days, off of it for 14 days, or are you continuous? Because that's the other thing that when I talk to a lot of women, when I read the comment section, when I'm in the Reddit boards, I see a lot of women, like, they switch. They'll say, I was doing it for 14 days on and off, hated life, hated the side effects, talked to my practitioner, and we would decide to do continuous. Others jump into continuous. They take it every day, way too much for them for whatever reason. So talk to their practitioner, and their practitioner is like, okay, let's go to 14 days. Let's do 14 days on and off, which I know can be a little hard because we want to time it. If you still get your cycle, your period, when you do the 14 days on, we want to, like, in the 14 days leading up to your period. If you still get regular cycles, that's easy. You can pretty much figure out 14 days on and off. If you're a lot more irregular, I can understand why your practitioner might have said, just do continuous, or do continuous until you get your period, then take a break, stop during your period. So there are different options. And then some women like skip their period completely. They're like, I haven't had a period in 6 months. Like, I'm not postmenopausal yet, but I'm only 6 months in. What do I do? And I'm like, okay, now we can just pick random 14 days on, 14 days off because you're not having a period. So you can see how this can get a little chaotic. Work with your healthcare practitioner who prescribed for you to figure out like what you can do. So these are some of the like first questions that I get into, like, what are you taking? What's the route? What's the dose? Are you in the higher dose or the lower dose? How long have you been trying this? And then are you cycling or continuous? Now, obviously, if you have an IUD, well, that's continuous. You can't cycle that. So that's going to come up later. All right, here are the 10 things that we have as options to further help. So number one, I mentioned Prometrium, which is the like trademark pharmaceutical brand FDA approved version of oral micronized progesterone. It comes in 2 doses, 100 and 200 milligrams. It also comes with peanut oil. Some people are really reactive to peanut oil. So if you didn't know this, if nobody taught you this, and you've been swallowing your Prometrium like, a good midlife woman, and then you're getting all the GI symptoms, it's possible you're reacting to the peanut oil. So number one, we're gonna have to switch that. Do you have a peanut oil or peanut sensitivity or allergy or anything that right off the bat? If that's the case, then we're going to jump to the next thing, number 2, which is you might need to get it compounded. Now, compounded, I understand, compounded medications at a compounding pharmacy. So it's a pharmacy with a pharmacist, but they make it specifically for you. These are not FDA approved like Prometrium is. However, they can make it without the peanut oil. So they can make it at the dose for you in the same, capsule, but with no peanut oil. So that way you still get the swallowing benefits. You still it's easy peasy lemon squeezy, but you don't get the peanut effect. In Prometrium, there are also some binders and fillers, and if you're just sensitive to those things overall, number 2, talk to your practitioner of hey, I don't do well with peanut oil, or I don't do well with these binders and fillers. I don't think, can we try the same dose compounded without all that extra junk in there? Compounded can do it a lot cleaner with cleaner filler that goes in there that you're probably not going to react to. So number 1, peanut oil. Number 2, should you get it compounded? Number 3 is dose. If you are on Prometrium as an example, and you are on 200 milligrams, that's the higher dose, talk to your practitioner about starting with 100 milligrams. Maybe you need to just slow roll into this. Maybe 200 right off the bat was just whoa, your receptors freaked out, your body freaked out. 200 was way too much. So we need to slow roll down to 100. If you're at 100 and you're I just wish I was at 50. I wish I was at 75. I wish I could slow roll this even more. I absolutely had patients who were just super, super, super sensitive to everything. Even ibuprofen, most everyone, the average dose of ibuprofen, you pop 2 pills of ibuprofen, and they're ooh, I would actually have to take 1 and part empty it because I was so sensitive. Or, the average vitamin C is 500 milligrams, and they'd be ooh, I have to start with 100 and work up. So if that's you, if you're I'm just a sensitive person, and that's okay. Again, we're back to number 2. Maybe you need to have it compounded, but in a lower dose. I will say that once you get below 100, then it's not considered uterine protective against hyperplasia, which is thickening of the inner lining of the uterus. So if you are on estrogen and you are thinking, man, I'd really like to start with 50, or I'd really like to start with 75 milligrams, that unfortunately, to our knowledge, is not going to be protective against hyperplasia. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So it's possible, if you are a sensitive person, your practitioner may say to you, you know what, for the first month, I am happy to get it compounded for you at 50, but then we have to move up to 100. I need to get you in the protective range, pretty quickly. And that is an option. I have seen practitioners do that before. Others are no, that doesn't make me feel comfortable because 1, compounded isn't FDA approved, and 2, you're not protected against hyperplasia if you're on any form of estrogen. Let's try something else. If you are not on any estrogen whatsoever, and or you've had a hysterectomy so you don't have your uterus, then the hyperplasia thing doesn't apply. The lowering the dose of progesterone through a compounding pharmacy might be an option for you. But let's say it's not. Let's move on. So that leaves me to number 4, vaginal. Instead of swallowing it, which can definitely increase the risk of a lot of the side effects, we go the vaginal route. And so this is not FDA approved either. However, a number of my practitioner friends will say we will compound it vaginally to just insert up there. Or depending on the type of progesterone you're taking, if it's a gel cap that you would normally swallow, it can be inserted vaginally. Again, not FDA approved. Not all practitioners believe this. You will see this out there in the comments and the Reddit boards. Definitely some practitioners do it. So I wanted to give you options. If you're that sounds way better, I'd rather do vaginal at night. That way I don't have to swallow it. I don't get any of the GI type side effects. It's probably going to help me not be so bloated. And I just fall asleep and I'm good to go. It is not FDA approved to go vaginal either, and it doesn't seem to be protective against hyperplasia. So that's the one kicker with the vaginal route. There's some studies like maybe it could be at 100 milligrams of vaginal that it may be protective. We don't have great big long-term studies really looking at this, and so like we don't have solid evidence. So if you are on estrogen, you just have to keep this in mind that your practitioner may say, not vaginal. We don't have great solid studies on it. Or they may say, yeah, let's try it. Let's try it and see. And we'll keep an eye on your uterus. We'll do yearly pelvic ultrasounds. We'll keep an eye on your symptoms, and we'll do 100 milligrams vaginally and go from there. There was a study, I believe, with 45 milligrams. I don't believe the 45 was protected. I'd have to go back and relook at the study that was 90 and 100 milligrams. But I just want to throw out there, you will see vaginal progesterone a lot. Again, if you're not on estrogen, or you don't have a uterus, you could consider, like, talk to your practitioner. Is the vaginal route an option for you? All right, let's say you're like, nope, Carrie, I tried the vaginal route, hated it too, didn't love that one, or my practitioner says no, can't do the vaginal route, not about to go that way. All right, that leaves me number 5. Number 5 is a progestin IUD. Now we're going to start to get into some things that I'm like not necessarily the biggest fan of, because they have side effects in their own ways, separate from the fact that, like, we're talking about, progesterone or progestins, progestogens, like this whole family of hormones. But the progestin IUD is absolutely an option. The Mirena is the most common. It's the highest dosed progestin. It is acceptable if you have a uterus and you were on estrogen and we're trying to prevent against hyperplasia. And a lot of women love their progestin IUDs. A lot of women get one in and they're like, oh my gosh, the bleeding is next to nothing or nothing at all. I'm feeling so much better. It was like a blood show and now it's not. Like, woof, thank goodness. Others, progestin IUDs, just because it's a progestin, which is synthetic progesterone, also comes with its own host of side effects. But it is definitely an option, and it falls perfectly in the guidelines. So also be aware, progestin IUDs do not have the calming, soothing, relaxing effects. It's definitely much more for uterus protection, but that may be what you need. You may be having gushers of periods, and you're done with them. You want the IUD to help reduce that. All right, that leads me to number 6. The other option, there is an estradiol progestin patch. Again, progestins are not my favorite by any stretch. I'm giving you all the options because you may be like, I have tried all the first 5 and I'm really struggling. And my job is to help educate you so you can feel empowered and choose what's right for you. Even if I don't love it as a first line, right? I don't love progestins as a first line, but it may be life-changing for you. So there is an estradiol progestin combination patch. So if you've tried all the first things, that is another option. That's number 6. Number 7, we have the estrogen basodoxifene Duave that can also potentially be helpful. It's considered a SERM, a selective estrogen receptor modulator. And when you read online, when you read the boards, the comments, the women who have chosen to go that route, or that's the route they ended up with because the other options didn't work, really, really like it. They really like the effects that they're getting. Again, it may not have the calming, relaxing, soothing effects, but they definitely have noticed that it is giving a combination of the estrogen and it's giving this basodoxifene, which can really help with like the uterus effects. Then we get into 8. 8 is topical progesterone. Now, hold on before you absolutely freak out, especially if you are 100% all about the guidelines. Topical progesterone is very controversial because it is definitely not controlled. It is not FDA approved. In fact, you can go get it lots of places, natural health food stores, Amazon, like you can get actual progesterone cream that you're just applying. You can get it prescribed through a compounding pharmacy, so it's dispensed at the dose specific for you. Progesterone that's topical is tough because progesterone is a molecule, it's a big molecule and it loves fat tissue. So if you're rubbing it into your thighs, into your belly, there's a chance that it just like sits there and doesn't really get out much into the system. And there is no study that is shown that it helps protect against uterine hyperplasia. So if you are on estrogen and you have a uterus, then topical progesterone is not going to protect you. Unfortunately, It's just not. And most of the doses, most women are doing like 10 to 30 milligram doses of the cream, and it's a lot of cream, and it's not that protective. Having said that, if you don't have a uterus or you're not on estrogen, and let's say you just picked up progesterone cream, or your practitioner did prescribe you compounded topical that you rub into your inner arm progesterone cream, and you love it, then I'm going to support you on it, because I'm like, okay, here are all your options. Your practitioner knows all your options. You recommended this, you're using it, and you love it. Fantastic. But you're probably listening to this because you hate progesterone and you're trying to work yourself through all the options. So I do want to say that topical progesterone cream is an option, but it comes with a boatload of caveats. So we have to be careful and make sure your prescribing practitioner like really understands the caveats of topical, because if you have a uterus, if you're on estrogen, not going to work. Okay, number 9. If you've had a hysterectomy, meaning you don't have a uterus, technically, it's the hyperplasia everyone's worried about. You don't have to use progesterone. So if you're just on estradiol, or maybe you're on some sort of combination estradiol testosterone, and you're like, can I just give up my progesterone? Talk to your practitioner. I'm not your doctor. I'm a doctor, but not your doctor. However, it is an option. Now, progesterone does have receptors in the brain, right? Draw the brain down to the toes. We have progesterone receptors all over. So if you're struggling with things like sleep or anxiety, rage, irritation, etc., and estrogen is not cutting it, it's not helping it, then we may have to use for sure other things to help support the mood, the sleep, the rage, the irritation, the anxiety, all the things happening. Because estrogen plays a role in that. Estradiol does play a role in sleep for sure, plays a role in mood for sure. But progesterone, again, calming, soothing, relaxing for a lot of women. So obviously there are medications that can help with sleep and mood, just as if there are wonderful herbs and nutrients that are also very calming unto themselves. So depending which level you're at, or if you're looking for a more integrative holistic approach versus a conventional approach, there are options. So if you're like, oh, thank God, I have had a hysterectomy, I don't want progesterone because I hate it, it doesn't make me feel good at all, but I am having sleep or mood issues or both, don't worry. We can support that. We have help for that. It doesn't have to be progesterone per se. Now that leads me to number 10. Number 10 is, in the big picture of progesterone, it is a hormone, and it has to get processed through your liver, and it gets processed through your intestinal tract and through your intestines, of course, and then out. So I always ask women, like, what's going on big picture for your liver? Like, how's your blood sugar? How's your inflammation? How's your alcohol intake? How are things like the environmental toxicants? Are you burning candles and spraying yourself in perfume and living in a very scented world and loving plastic, and you're microwaving in plastic cling wrap and drinking out of plastic water bottles? I mean, it's just more burden on the liver. And then unfortunately we take progesterone and we think it's going to be really helpful because it's the calming, soothing, relaxing hormone, but it's one more thing that has been burdened on the liver. So it's entirely possible that if you're working with a practitioner who's got you doing some sort of like cleanup support, they're working through with your diet and your movement and your stress and what you eat and what you put on your body, and reading labels and just being more aware and helping to support your liver more. Remember, your liver uses a lot of nutrients. It pulls a lot of nutrients from your food, your B vitamins and vitamin C and vitamin D, to help it do its job, magnesium. And if you're deficient in any of those things, even iron, your phase 1 detoxification pathways are what we call heme dependent. Heme, like iron. So if you're iron anemic or just low iron, or you don't eat a lot of iron rich foods, you don't like it, then you're going to struggle in the phase 1 portion of the liver. And so I just want to point that out, that it's maybe possible it's not progesterone itself. It's the fact that like it's one more thing you're like the body is kind of burdened and has to deal with, and like just pay attention, be aware. So those were the 10 things. For all the people who were like, I hate progesterone, hopefully somewhere we can find an option. Again, I don't love every option. Don't think that all these options are my favorite. But if you love an option and it's what's getting you through and making you feel like your best self and hitting your goals, then I'm going to support it. I'm just here to educate so you can talk to your healthcare practitioner and find the right option for you. So again, quick run through. We have, are you sensitive or allergic to peanut oil? Maybe we need to compound it without, or binders and fillers and food dyes and things like that. If you're a very sensitive person, maybe we need to compound without. Maybe we need to change the dose, switch from 200 to 100, or get it compounded lower. But again, caveats. Do you have a uterus? Are you on estrogen? Right? Like FDA approval, things like this. We have vaginal, which is considered off label. So we have some options for vaginal. We have the progestin IUD, such as the Mirena. We have the patch, the estradiol progestin patch, not progesterone. It is a progestin, not my favorite, but it is an option. Some women really do well with that. We have Duave, which is the combination estradiol basodoxifene, which doesn't have progesterone in it, but is still protective to the uterus. We have topical, lots of caveats around topical. However, not swallowing a capsule seems, in women who are using topical progesterone, some really love it. So talk to your practitioner. Again, not FDA approved. Can't do it if you are on estrogen and have a uterus. If you've had a hysterectomy and you're on estrogen, you don't have to do progesterone. But if you're also having all the side effects, anxiety, mood, irritation, sleep, then we're going to need to find other options to help support that. Don't worry, they're out there. We have them. Don't feel like you're at a loss. And then lastly, the liver. Is the progesterone is an extra hormone, one more thing layered on the liver. Maybe you're iron deficient, maybe you're B12 deficient, maybe it's got to evaluate that alcohol intake. Maybe we have to evaluate plastics, parabens, phthalates, things like that. So I want you to have all the education because I don't want you to think, I tried progesterone, I hate it, there's nothing else I can do. Oh, no. There are a lot of options. I'm not saying, again, it's easy, fair, or fun. I'm not saying it's quick fix. Again, some of these, it may take us a month, 2 months, 3 months of working with your practitioner to kind of figure out what works right for you. But if you're the person who hates their progesterone or their progestin, right? Whatever progestogen that you're trying, like, we definitely have options. And I don't want you to feel lost or that we're forgetting to talk about you because that's why I made this whole episode, to talk about you and hopefully give you some answers. So you're going to want to hit that subscribe button because I know hormones like progesterone, all the progestin, the whole family, the whole umbrella of family of these hormones can feel like herding cats, and I'm here to help.